Hi, welcome to the Digital Discovery Show. I'm Liz Ward, one of the co-owners of Navii Digital, and it's my absolute pleasure to present this program to you. As usual, we are bringing to you interesting, diverse, small business people who are on a great business journey, who are keen to continue to grow their businesses and find ways to make them really sustainable, and who are embracing new technologies and digital marketing to be able to help them to achieve that. Remember, this is a show where we are bringing real life stories to you, and we'd love to hear your real life experience as well. So feel free to comment, ask questions, and we will endeavour to help you get those answers so that you can apply those things into your businesses as well. Today, we are beaming to you from the southeast corner of Queensland, a really innovative and entrepreneurial farmer. Our guest is a woman called Skye Douglas, who is a co-owner of a really a paddock to plate business, a business that understands what consumers are looking for in terms of their produce, and that business is called Hybrid Beef. Now, Skye lives on her farm with her husband, Glenn, her 4 children, cat, dogs, horses, chickens, and of course the cows as well. They love to grow their own food and source that locally wherever possible. When Skye was searching for good quality, ethically produced, nutritious meats to buy, she realised how hard they were to find. And that is why she's proud and excited to offer their export quality beef to the domestic market and the local market, particularly to feed Australian families just like their own. Skye, please join me from your couch in your lounge room at your farm. Welcome, Skye, to the Digital Discovery Show.
Hi, Liz. Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for your time. I expect that since the drought has broken for you, literally, that there's plenty you can be doing on the farm, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share your tips and your story and your journey with our listeners and viewers today. It's really invaluable for people in small business to hear relatable stories and to hear from business people who are in similar situations to them. And I was introduced to you by somebody you were doing some coaching with, I understand, some digital coaching with, very clever woman called Tracy Sheen, who said, you really need to speak with Skye. They're doing some amazing stuff with their online distribution of their produce. And they're doing some great stuff in social media with groups as well. So that was what led us to you, and can't thank you enough for taking the time. So thanks heaps.
Thank you.
We need to ask you to tell your story in your words, and it'd be great for me and for our listeners to hear where you're at now in the business, but how you really got started in the business. That would be fantastic just to hear that background story, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Well, how we started in this business was that I've always been really interested in the food that I eat. When I was a teenager, I was a vegetarian basically, and wasn't interested in eating meat. And I met my husband, and I saw the way that he operated here on farm, and it changed the way I thought about farming and production of beef for certain. And then 12 years ago, we had my son who has a lot of food allergies, and in the process of finding the foods that he was able to eat, and finding some, foods with low processing and low inputs, I suppose, I was looking for local natural products and also ethically produced meats, and I just couldn't find anything really local to us, and we thought, why aren't we eating our own meat? And the problem that we had was to kill a beast, it's a lot of meat in one animal. Got thunder and rain here at the moment, so it's beautiful. So we started sort of supplying it to friends and family. We're able to have no grain most of the time in our meat. and in the food of our animals. And so, yeah, we started supplying friends and family, and they said it was a really great product, and it sort of developed from there. And then when I was pregnant with my last child, who's 6 at the moment, I was looking for something to do, as you do, and I started building a website and started to try and put ourselves out there a little bit with it. And it's sort of grown from there. I think there's definitely been an interest in people getting to know their farmer and their products and their food. And we offer that to our customers, which I'm really proud to be able to do.
So you're pregnant with your 4th child. You decided you weren't busy enough, and that you would start to look at your online presence and getting it out there. So what was motivating you to do that? Was it the passion to share these great products, or was it about business growth for your family? Because there's always a passion behind that sort of energy that you need to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a passion for our product, a desire to have an income stream that was separate, that, you know, I could work from home and was separate to our other farming enterprise. But also cattle prices at the time were really low, and it was really tough for us as cattle producers to be able to, you know, have a viable business. Even though we had quite a lot of cattle, it still was really difficult to make ends meet with that. And so we just looked at it as potentially it was going to be an extra income stream and an ability to, and this is a cliche sort of saying, but to be price makers rather than price takers. And so, yeah, when I sort of thought about getting it started, those were probably my motivations. Yeah.
So you took the angle of developing a website to be able to sell the products. Was that right? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah. So I have to be honest here. My background is in environmental science, so I am not a marketer or a digital IT guru. I have very little skills in that. Well, I had very little skills in that area. I think everything I've done, I've learnt. And so I just sought out a web page building software that I could use and started mucking around with that, and got ourselves a Facebook page, and really was very simple at the start. And the ordering process was simply send me an email and I'll send you an order form and we'll go from there. So it wasn't an online store or anything like that in the start.
You started how most businesses would start, would be with that sort of semi-manual process, and it's kind of like a digital brochure really more than anything else, but you're completely self-taught. Tell us about how you evolved that platform that you were using, that little digital stack that you had. What did that journey look like?
It was pretty patchy. I really didn't know what I was doing. So, you know, initially I sort of just built a web page around what I thought it should look like. And as time went on, I did a course or two and realised that, you know, there needs to be some logic to how web pages are developed. And I still wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I'm certainly a lot happier with how it is now. The biggest thing for me has been to put a subscription link on there so that people can sign up for our newsletter. So that's been sort of a game changer. And as well, having a store where people can put their orders through without me having to manually invoice everyone. That's been huge for me. Yeah, so.
Are there particular tools that you're using that you're finding have been a good transition to? Do you want to talk about those, sort of where you started, what sort of website platform you were using and what you've moved to? Because I know that those sorts of really the practical information about what business people are using is really helpful to other businesses to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So the platforms that I started with were I explored Squarespace and Wix. I explored Shopify. There was a whole number of those web building platforms, development platforms. In the end, I went with Wix only because it felt so easy to drag and drop in their in their background. I've actually stayed with Wix. I really feel like their development software has really improved over the last few years, and the capabilities of what it can do now are up there with, in my opinion, some of the Shopify and all of those sorts of things. Probably not to the extent with the carts, but I like the interface, and I think if it's not being an IT pro, I've kind of stuck with what I know to a huge degree, and it feels comfortable. So yeah. The other thing is we've integrated payment options, so PayPal, Stripe, those sorts of things into the website, which have made things made a big difference as well.
Sounds like thunder and rain is starting to swirl around about, which is great. So talk about swirling around and thundering times. What were some of the challenges with learning to use website platforms and integrate payment gateways and plugins and things? Tell us about those pain points and how you overcame those.
Oh yeah, oh boy, there's been lots, and I think even with a platform like Wix, some of my pain points or my difficulties around web design have definitely been in understanding the language and the lingo that is bandied around, and every platform seems to have slightly different names for things. And honestly, Google and YouTube, they are my friends. I have looked up so many things to try and explore them. But, a lot of these web development platforms have great help menus now as well. So Wix certainly has a really good, help background information. So, yeah, I've accessed a lot of that. Having said that, I rebuilt our website probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I actually think it's due for an update again now. And I think having some similarities, but some freshness to it are important. I try to make sure I'm updating photos every so often and that sort of thing. But I did notice that when I made too big a changes, my customers were like, where do we go to where's the, so maybe that had to do with my layout, but they get so used to clicking through and knowing how to access, the store and what they want on your website too. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you raised there about the user journey through your website and getting the navigation right, and also about keeping it fresh as well. These would all be some key things that we guide businesses on doing, and you're learning them through trial and error based on knowing your customers and having such a nice relationship with them that they're telling you and communicating. And you've got sticky customers too. It's not like a one-off sale. They come back and they want to relate to you and they want your website to be really useful to them. So they're really great tips you're sort of sharing with people there, talking about keeping it fresh. But when you do make changes, just consider what it is you're wanting the user to do through the website, what action you want them to take, what journey you want them to take, and really considering that logic and that flow. So it sounds like you're turning yourself into a web developer and designer as you work through the business, which is great. And I like that you undertook some self-training as well. Not self-training, you also went and did some courses as well, so that you went, I don't know everything. I know enough to know I'm dangerous. Now I need to go and get some more knowledge and skills, which is great. But learning on the tools is a great way to go, isn't it? How did you drive people to the website? What did you do to make people aware that the website was there, and how do you attract visitors to your website now?
Yeah, well, early on, Wix, the SEO tools that they had weren't that great. So I did some research on SEO myself to find out what I needed to do, and I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I've definitely taken on board everything I've read, and I've made sure that my titles are all right and my pictures, and so I've tried my best to improve our Google our rankings, but more than that, I think word of mouth has been a really strong recommender for us. But I have ran some Facebook ads, and we have had a lot of social interactions, Facebook and Instagram, through running a few really cheap ads early on. And that's driven people to the website to some degree. But look, I think our strongest, and when I look at my analytics, our strongest drivers to the website are our socials, but also people just putting in our website name, and that's obviously come from conversations with neighbours or friends, and certainly when we deliver meat, that's where the bulk of the new customers, they'll say, oh, I've eaten your meat at a barbecue, or my brother-in-law buys it, or my hairdresser, or someone has recommended us. So it's probably mostly outside of the digital world that we've had those connections.
Yeah, there's nothing stronger than word of mouth, is there? And then what you're doing is engaging people on digital and keeping them engaged and making them feel part of what you're doing, which is just a great strategy for a business like yours. And you mentioned social has become an important part of your business. So what does that journey look like, and how are you using social media?
Yeah, it's our journey with social media has been interesting, because early on I was really concerned that we didn't have enough likes or follows, and I thought, if we could just get more likes, we could really build this business. But what I've come to realize is that the number of likes that we have or follows doesn't necessarily equate to customers. So our newsletter list is a much stronger indication of that. But having a social media presence is really important for connection with your customers, and for customers to be able to see reviews and to be able to interact with other customers, and I guess to know you're legitimate and that you've got a good product. So I found that really important. Some of our customers, they follow our journey on socials, so they'll say to me, oh, I saw your post about your chickens, or I saw your post about the rain, how great is it? And I love to interact with them in that way. But a lot of our customers are not even on socials, or if they are, they don't necessarily like us or follow us, but they'll interact with me via email. So I guess it's a really important tool for communicating with a certain group of people, and I like to be able to talk to people in that way as well. Writing newsletters can
So we're back now. Skye's got some thunder and lightning happening around her, which hopefully is going to be followed with some nice heavy rain, and I know that would make you really happy. But that's why there's a bit of a cut in this video, because we did get interrupted, but through the cleverness of digital, we're able to stitch this together and make sure that we can keep bringing Skye to you from her lounge room. Skye, you were saying before the thunder killed your internet that some people in your ideal customer set, they're not interested in social media. But what they will do is they'll chat with you back over email. So they will use the channels that they want to use. And it sounds to me like you're facilitating that and recognizing that in your customer base, which is so important. But I do understand when it comes to social that you're getting some really good engagement and enjoying using a Facebook group for your business. Can you tell us about how that's working for you?
Yeah, I sure can. So Tracy Sheen, when I was chatting to her about our customer base, and I was describing us as kind of a community. So I don't like to set myself up as an expert on cooking or, any of that sort of thing. But a lot of our customers have a great amount of knowledge and depth of knowledge in that regard. And I said that to Tracy, and I said, it's a great group of customers we have. I really feel like we are a bit of a community. And she suggested, well, why don't you start a Facebook group that's about your product, but also about any paddock to plate cooking that people want to do. And so, yeah, we started that. It was great. We've got over 300 members in our group. It's been, we have sort of spates of activity in there, but people can share their recipes, share their culinary creations, share their inspirations, what they've bought, and a little bit of a brains trust group, which I love, because there's some people in there with, like I say, just a real depth of knowledge. There's chefs and some great knowledgeable folk. So yeah, we were able to create a bit of a community on Facebook that is connected to our Facebook page, which I love, honestly. And I mean, as much as we've built our connection with a lot of people through our newsletters, and because we deliver, so either Glenn or myself is always on a delivery, we can chat to people about what's working for them and how they're finding the product, or most often they want to talk to us about what's happening on the farm, or how the animals are looking, and so we're able to provide some insight into that for people on our delivery. So yeah, we built some really strong connections with our customers, which is really rewarding. And then using this Facebook group is another way to sort of extend our community and extend our value, I guess, to our customers.
That's great, because a lot of people do struggle with understanding how they can make the most of Facebook groups, and I think you've got a really great scenario there to share, and really getting them involved in your products and sharing across that community that you're facilitating, which is awesome. Before we wrap it up, I think it'd be really great to hear you've put all this hard sweat and tears into digitizing your business and your communications, and helping to engage your customers as well. What would you describe as the benefits that have come out of using these different types of digital technologies for your business? How has it helped you achieve what you set out to achieve?
It's definitely increased our reach. So it's increased the number of people who are exposed to us. And, earlier I was talking about word of mouth, and that's really important. But one of our biggest advocators, I suppose, and now has become a firm friend of mine, actually came across us on Facebook and took it upon herself to connect with her friends and see how they could go to get a bulk delivery to them, which is now born into a whole Facebook presence known as the Brisbane Bulk Buys, where they connect with people all over Brisbane and get bulk buy products, and they've been able to help businesses through COVID and all of that. But that business, it's not really a business, more a community service that started with our meet. So and that was through Facebook connection. So I think our reach definitely, showing people that we are a genuine business that has a really good product. People can post their reviews and post their comments, connecting with us as individuals, I guess, as business owners, and our personality. I like to share lots of funny cow memes and things that are related to farm life on our socials. So and I think I like to keep things lighthearted, and even when things are really quite bad here on the farm, it's a good way to sort of keep things a bit positive for us as well. But also, yeah, that Facebook community is great. And yeah, I guess, it's a portion of the problem with the Facebook algorithms is that when I put a post up, it mightn't go out to everyone, but in a group, it's much more likely to be, for it to come up on people's feeds, particularly if they're interacting with things. So that's one of the key benefits of the group that I see as well. It's private, so not everyone can see that, what you've cooked for dinner. It's only the people in that group who are other interested parties. So I think that's kind of good too. Yeah, and then our newsletter, which has been a really strong connector with our customers.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of those building blocks in place to be able to keep people engaged in the business and keep understanding what their needs are. And it's sort of like you're doing all that human touch, but through a range of different tools. So good on you. It's just fantastic to hear what you've taught yourself and how you just keep growing with it. What would you say to other farmers or people in business who were thinking about sort of amping up the way that they're using digital technology? How would you encourage them in that way?
It's really interesting because I heard a quote the other day about there's that thunder. I heard a quote the other day about young people and how they interact with technologies and digital technologies, and they said that they're much more likely to just click on buttons and see what happens. We have a bit of a fear, I think my generation have a bit of a fear that, if I do that, it'll suddenly post it all over the world and I won't be able to get it back, and how will it work? So I think there's a certain amount of faith you have to have in, what does it matter if that goes up? Who's going to see it? Does it, you just got to kind of put yourself out there a little bit, which has been a real test for me as well, because my husband and I are quite strong introverts. And had I known that I would need to be the face of something like this early on, I may not have done it, but it's been a great growth opportunity for me. So for people who might be looking to do a paddock to plate or a farm to fork operation, I think, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of aspects to it, not just in the digital realm, logistics and management of all of the background. But I don't think you could do it without digital technologies, without a web presence these days. I don't think you could do it properly without making use of those assets and those things. So, yeah, I think just get on and try it.
Good on you. That's fantastic. I love that you're talking about your generation as being more reserved about clicking buttons than the younger generation. And I'm thinking, well, where does that leave the farmers in their 50s then? But no, that's great words of encouragement to sort of take that digital step, take that first digital step, have a go, don't be too fearful. And I think also I would add that don't be afraid to ask for help, because, you can, if you're not of a generation where you do just sort of bust through web pages and Google and YouTube everything to learn it yourself, not everyone is like that. So it's okay to ask for help as well, which is great. So thanks so much, Skye. I know that you're getting busier and busier, and you're waiting for new cows to grow and for new opportunities, new business, more produce to be able to supply, and that it's not like you're screaming out for new customers at the moment. But people would, I'm sure, be interested to have a look at your business and maybe get onto your newsletter, so that when you are looking to expand, that they can be part of that community. So how can people contact you?
Yeah, sure. So if you Google hybrid beef, HIGHBRIT beef, or if you go to hybridbeef.com.au, when you're searching on there, there will be a subscription light box come up, and you can put your email address in there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Hybrid Beef, and yeah, I'd love to chat to anyone who's interested. Yeah, I sort of think if I can do any of this, so can anyone else. So I don't think I'm anything special in this space. Certainly just have plodded along and yeah, see where I get results and where I don't, and then, you know, refine that process.
Thank you, Skye. I really appreciate your energy and your willingness to jump in boots and all and keep trying new things. And congratulations on how well the business is going, and happy days with more rain coming. That's fantastic. That's exactly what you need out there, isn't it? That follow through rain. So yeah, the cows will be happy.
Oh yeah, we'll have calves on the ground everywhere after this. I was looking at them the other day, and there were some pretty heavily pregnant cows, and it was like they were holding on. So I reckon they're waiting for the rain. It'll be great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're going to really look forward to following your story and checking in with you to see how it goes. And I want to see those calves. I so want to see those calves. So thanks, Skye.
Thank you very much, Liz. Okay, bye.